Satan cured my cancer. Now I wish I was dead. Part 5. By Richard Saxon. It had taken me about 10 hours to reach that godforsaken Walmart that refused to cooperate with the laws of space and time, so I suppose it would have come as no surprise when it took me twice as long to drive back. I was still in the middle of fuck knows where. The GPS embodied by Satan himself kept taking me in random directions like before, spouting random info about the buildings and nature around me. It was exhausting. I found some joy in knowing that my happiness was returning at a steady rate for each black pill I had taken. I was currently on the third one, and though my heart still felt numb, I could enjoy life just enough to not want to kill myself. Only one last job. Then I would be free. No sooner had the thought crossed my mind before I had to slam down hard on the brakes to avoid hitting a man who had suddenly appeared in the middle of the road. It was Satan. I mean, of course it was Satan. Who else would appear in front of me, almost killing me in the process, in the middle of fucking nowhere? "Satan, what the fuck?" I shouted as I exited the car. "You could have killed me." "Seriously, after all this time?" he responded, smiling. "All right, maybe not killed me, but still, why did you make me stop in the middle of nowhere?" "Because you've arrived at your final target." I looked around me, and mere seconds ago the road had been surrounded by empty wilderness, but now I suddenly stood in the middle of a suburban neighborhood. Greenfield Avenue was written on a street sign. We were standing next to the house, number 54B. It was an old building, seemingly straight out of the 50s, with a large front yard, covered in crosses as if it was a graveyard. There was a barbed wire surrounding the entire property, glistening in the moonlight with its silver colors. On the lawn there were piles of what I assumed to be salt, connected by lines of salt running between them. It was a ridiculous sight. "Is that our guy living there?" "Yep, my old friend Michael Finch." "So, what do you want me to do with him?" "I want to talk to him, and I need you to convince him to come outside, because he somehow managed to block me out." "How?" "I haven't the faintest idea, but I'd sure like to know." I looked at the house. Despite the weird decorations he had chosen, it didn't seem particularly secure. Assuming he just doesn't blow my head off when he finds out who I work for, how am I supposed to convince him? Satan pulled a pistol out of his pocket and handed it to me. "Try not to kill him, but just in case something goes wrong." I've never even fired a gun. "It's pretty straightforward. You aim and pull the trigger." I sighed and took the gun from Satan. "Oh, do you have the butter knife with you?" "Yeah, but what the fuck am I supposed to do with it?" "You'll see." Immediately upon entering the property, I felt cold again. My breath turned visible, and I could feel my toes losing their sensation. Behind me, the world outside was seemingly erased. Though we could see into the property, it was not possible to look outside from within. Another pocket dimension, just like what had killed Jeremy, but this was far more sophisticated. The salt piles and silver barbed wire seemed purposeless and more for show than anything else. I walked straight up to the front door and knocked. "Michael Finch, we need to talk," I yelled while hammering at the door. "You're trespassing on private property. Leave now or deal with the consequences." I heard the distinct sound of someone pumping a shotgun. "I was sent here by Satan." "Oh, son, you better get the fuck out of here right now." "I'm afraid I can't do that, Michael. I made a deal with him, but I promise I'm not here to hurt you." "Then why do you have a gun?" Only then I noticed a camera mounted above the door, slightly hidden to one side. "Fuck, I'm stupid," I realized to myself. "Look, Satan sent me here because he wants to talk to you, that's all." There was literally no way he would open the door. Well, at least that was the thought that went through my head as I heard the click of a door unlocking. In front of me stood a well-built man in his 50s holding a shotgun to my face. He was mostly bald with some stubble on his face, covering up some old scars. "You're the collector, huh?" he said. "Yeah, how did you know?" "Come on in. I'm keeping this pointed at your balls while we talk, but I'll hear you out." He let me walk ahead of him, telling me where to go. His house was old and worn down, hadn't been cleaned in at least a few months. On the walls were dozens of paintings depicting scenes of various religions, along with different artifacts. All this stuff here, is that what keeps Satan out? I asked. Hell no. There's something else that protects me. The rest of the stuff is just red herrings. No way anyone could find out what keeps him out, though. He chuckled. He led me into his kitchen. On the table he had a bottle of whiskey and a single glass. Sit down, he demanded, gesturing to the chair with his shotgun. I obviously complied. Drink? No, not anymore, I responded. He poured himself a glass of whiskey and sat down with me. So, tell me, how did he get you? Satan? Yeah, who else? I told him my story. Told him that Satan had cured my cancer in exchange for random memories. I told him he had refused to let me die, and only after a year of attempted suicide did he see it fit to strike up a deal. One that had led me to Michael Finch. It was a short but complicated story. So to complete this deal I have to go outside and talk to him? Pretty much. What does he want from you anyway? Well, I used to be a collector just like you. Number 4099. Which one are you? 8402. Jesus Christ, are there that many of us? Seems so, though you're the first one I've seen. He chugged his entire glass and poured himself another one, still pointing the shotgun at my testicles, but less threateningly somehow. My wife died about 20 years ago. Some sort of nasty liver disease. I didn't see it coming at all. I'm sorry. It was all I could think of saying. So was I, sorry enough to strike up a deal with our common friend, Satan. He said if I worked as a collector for him, he would bring my wife back. All I had to do was to collect stuff for him as long as she remained alive. I identified with the man. He had turned to Satan in a moment of pure distress and agony. No other hope left on earth. Did he do it? Of course he did. Satan is many things, but he sure as hell is not a liar. So he brought my wife back, and she was technically what we would call alive. Technically? He chugged his second glass of whiskey before continuing. You know, Satan might be powerful, but he has shit to say about what happens to a soul when someone dies. That's all God's work. What he brought back was an empty shell of my soulmate, one unable to feel joy, to feel love or live life in any meaningful way. She was a lobotomized zombie, and she sure as hell was not my wife. What happened to her after she was brought back? Beats me. She knew her essence was missing, so I woke up one night and she had left. I never saw her again. Wait, so if she's not dead, you're still... Yep, bound to my contract. I remained quiet. It had been a whole lot to process and made me feel guilty about this entire situation. At least my contract had a foreseeable future, while his was locked as long as his wife was missing. Heck, she might even be partially immortal like I am. Look, I'd happily talk to Satan, but I'm not going out there without the means to defend myself. I had a plan, but my friend Jeremy never returned with the key I desperately need. Wait, Jeremy? You know him? He's dead, froze to death in a pocket dimension. Michael threw the remainder of his drink at the wall, cursing at the loss of his last hope. Michael, I said as calmly as I could, I have his key. You what? A glimpse of hope reappearing in his drunken eyes. Just tell me what you're planning, and I'll help you. Without warning, Michael stormed out of the kitchen into the living room. I followed him to find that he was rummaging through a hidden compartment under his couch. He pulled out a dagger covered in various rocks of different colors and a golden blade. This is my plan. He held up the dagger. What, that thing can kill Satan? Don't be ridiculous. Nothing can. However, this dagger could banish him back to hell, voiding every deal he's ever made here on Earth. I had been struck with a couple of conflicting emotions. First of all, I wished to help the poor guy. He had suffered from no fault of his own. Secondly, banishing Satan might seem like the moral thing to do. But as always, there would be unforeseen consequences. So you'll banish him? No. He wouldn't trust me enough. No way I can get close with this thing. Wait, don't tell me. You have to do it, he said with pleading eyes. Had he seriously just asked me to single-handedly defeat Satan, the lord of the underworld, the torturer of lost souls? Fear struck me like never before. It was a ludicrous request. But as I have said before, I am clearly an idiot. I'll do it.